And I say there were 2 or 3 years there where the movement went a little bit too far towards Stokley, but in the end, John Lewis prevailed.
Of course, the error was that some Africans thought that the interest of America was the same as the interest of us. Of course, the job of the system, the job of the enemy is to confuse you and to let you think that your interest and your history is the same as that of your oppressor. As a matter of fact, the job of the master is to convince the slave that the master is really concerned about the interest of the slave. And if the master doesn't do well, the slave will be in trouble. Any slave who believes that he has the same interest as the master will pick cotton at night. All slaves must understand that their interests are diametrically opposed to the interests of the master. Not only are they diametrically opposed, they are antagonisms to each other. What is good for the master is bad for the slave. What's bad for the master is good for the slave.
Years there where the movement went a little bit too far towards Stokley, but in the end, John Lewis prevailed.
If you look at the Africans in the Democratic Party, now I'm not a Democrat. I've never voted in my life in the Democratic Party, and I never vote in the Democratic Party. It's racist and it's capitalist to the core. This is understood. And I shed my blood. I shed my blood for the vote now. I want to make that clear. Some people get confused. The vote for me has never been the road to liberation. It's only the means of organizing my people. You vote for once in 4 years and that's your political responsibility. That's the height of bourgeois propaganda, making the people politically irresponsible, thinking their irresponsibility is limited to a one-day vote. For politics is every day of every minute. You have to be aware of what's going on. Not voting on one day, so the vote has never meant anything. So I'm not a Democrat.
I want to bring up the fact that you were the one that brought up the word super predator about young black youth. And that's a term that I think was it's been horribly.
So, I mean, that is the land of unconfirmed.
Yes, we came, we saw, he died.
Did it have anything to do with your visit?
No, I'm sure it did.
Years there where the movement went a little bit too far towards Stokley, but in the end, John Lewis prevailed.
Black kids, for example, in the South, are told to go to white schools because they're good. They leave their black schools, which they're told are bad. They have to go through mobs. They're being beaten to go and sit in a white school. That never speaks to the issue of that black school, which has in it now the rest of the students. In the North, you take black kids out of the ghettos and you bus them to white neighborhoods again, to good white schools, in heightening the inferiority process in those children who are left there and who go there. White kids never initiate a move for integration. They never move into black schools. White people who believe in integration in Westchester and in Hollywood, they never move into Watts, into Harlem, if they truly believe in integration. And I'm saying that what black people have to do is to, among themselves, develop their communities first. They must control their school boards, and when they control their school boards, they will have good schools. They will have good schools. And then you can talk about integration. Then you can send white kids to black schools and black kids to white schools. Until you do that, you have an insidious subterfuge for white supremacy. You have
years there where the movement went a little bit too far towards Stokley, but in the end, John Lewis prevailed.
Stokley, Carmichael. You have two generations, the generation that Martin Luther King Jr. represents and the generation that Stokley Carmichael represents. And Dr. King's message was really wearing thin in this latter half of the 1960s, particularly because there's so much violence.
As the violence grew, the willingness to be passive declined.
Do you think you'll be able to keep it nonviolent, Dr. King?
Yes, I think so. I don't have any doubt in my mind about that.
Mr. Carmichael, are you as committed to the nonviolent approach as Dr. King is?
No, I'm not.
Why aren't you?
Well, I just don't see it as a way of life. I never have.
The Meredith March is where Stokley Carmichael becomes an icon.
No one in this country is asking the white community in the South to be nonviolent. And that, in a sense, is giving them a free license to go ahead and shoot us at will.